Hey Teen Wolf fans, welcome back to the channel for another Teen Wolf video. I'm Jades Corner, and today we're tackling the messy and downright confusing Teen Wolf movie timeline. But before we dive in, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive into the supernatural universe of Teen Wolf. Now, after several delays and nearly a year and a half of the movie being released, we're finally here covering the timeline. Let me just say, it's about time. Also, I will be following this video up with a full-on remake of my original Teen Wolf timeline video from December 2021, which will include this video as part of a massive universe-long timeline covering the early beginning of the Teen Wolf universe all the way up into the current events of the movie. These two videos will be the final sending off in terms of lore videos for Teen Wolf on my channel, since this version of the IP is permanently finished, as Jeff Davis has said he will no longer work on anything Teen Wolf for the foreseeable future and pretty much indefinitely as of May 2024. Now, without further ado, grab a snack, get yourself a drink, sit back and relax, and let's get started. Adrian Harris attacks Liam Dunbar and his girlfriend Hikari Zhang at their ramen restaurant. Harris successfully steals the Triskelion urn and frees the Nogitsune. The Nogitsune was last seen in fall 2011. Scott McCall and Alan Deaton helped rescue the Los Angeles Fire Department survivors trapped in a building after an earthquake. Scott McCall and Chris Sargent begin seeing frequent visions of Allison Argent, who died at this point 15 years prior in fall 2011. Scott admits he hasn't been to Beacon Hills in a long time. It is unknown how much time has passed since he last visited his hometown. Argent says neither he nor Deaton have returned to the town in years. Scott McCall, Chris Sargent, and Alan Deaton discuss a theory that Allison's spirit is stuck in limbo. They devise a plan to somehow bring her back using the Yoni sword she was stabbed with an old ritual. Lydia Martin begins seeing visions of Allison Argent, which include images of the past, specifically the events that took place in Season 3, Episode 23, Insatiable. Eli Hale, now 15 years old, steals Stiles Stilinski's old Jeep, now in the possession of Derek Hale and Hale Auto, previously owned by Scott McCall. Mason Hewitt, now a police officer for the Beacon County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Stilinski, and Derek Hale investigate a wildfire that occurred in Beacon Hills Preserve. They mention involving the FBI and Stiles, but Sheriff Stilinski shuts down the idea, saying Stiles has his own fires to put out. Eli Hale is pulled over and scolded by Derek Hale, Jordan Parrish, and Sheriff Stilinski. Scott McCall reunites with Lydia Martin for the first time in a very long time at the old factory site where Allison was killed. Scott McCall grabs dirt from the area where Allison was killed as the next piece to complete the ritual to resurrect her. Scott McCall, Lydia Martin, Chris Sargent, and Jackson Whitmore decipher that the last step of the ritual is to bring the collected items to the Nematon. Jackson reveals that Lydia stopped using her powers because of an issue involving Stiles. What really happened is revealed later. Eli Hale argues with his father, and Eli reveals that he doesn't think he's a werewolf because he can't transform. There is an inconsistency in the lore here and a retcon. In season 1, Derek revealed that some members of the Hale family were human when the Hale House fire happened.
6 years ago, my sister and I were at school. Our house caught fire. 11 people were trapped inside. He was the only survivor.
So, what makes you so sure that they set the fire?
Because they're the only ones that knew about us.
Then they had a reason.
Like what? You tell me what justifies this. They say they'll only kill an adult, and only with absolute proof. But there were people in my family that were perfectly ordinary in that fire. This is what they do.
In this scene, Eli mentions that he might be the only Hale who wasn't born a werewolf. This is the first of many retcons this movie makes in the lore / established canon that the original series sets up. Deaton confronts Chris, who is unknowingly possessed by the Nogitsune, though this possession is different from how it worked with Stiles, as it's temporary. This is most likely Jeff changing the Nogitsune's lore entirely, as he did throughout the movie, or giving the Nogitsune new powers, something he also did throughout the film. Scott McCall and Lydia Martin reunite with Malia Tate for the first time in years in the Beacon Hills Preserve. Deaton frees Chris of the Nogitsune's possession after questioning him using a set of riddles to confuse the Void Kitsune, a common tactic used to reveal a person who is possessed by a Void Kitsune. Scott discovers Eli Hale trailing him, Malia, and Lydia in the preserve. Scott reveals that this is the first time he's seen Eli since 2014, when Eli was 3 years old. There is another retcon here. Scott, Lydia, and Malia should know where the Nematon is, and it should not have taken an entire day to find it. In particular, Scott and Lydia have known its location since season 3 part 1, which took place back in fall 2011. They could have forgotten its location over time, but this seems like more of a plot hole than anything from Jeff. Scott, Malia, and Lydia perform their ritual, and Allison Argent is resurrected from limbo and successfully revived from the dead. Allison resurrects in the same state she died, as a 17-year-old. However, over the next several minutes, she quickly ages to the correct age she should have been in the current day, which is 32 years old. It is unknown how this process happens or how it works, though it could just be tossed as a supernatural occurrence as her resurrection is abnormal. Allison's birthday is in January, and the movie takes place in spring 2026, so her birthday is already passed, making her 32 instead of 31 years old. Scott, Malia, and Lydia bring Allison to Beacon Hills Hospital, where she is placed under the care of Melissa McCall, who is now ascended from nurse to doctor. The Nogitsune uses the Beacon Hills Nematon to retrieve the Oni Ninjato that killed Allison and reforms into its corporal restate. Allison wakes up and attacks Scott, Malia, and numerous hospital guards, and it's revealed that fragments of Allison's memories are messed up as an after effect of her resurrection. She refers to Derek as the Alpha and wants revenge on him for killing her mother. Allison and Derek settled this way back during season 3 in fall 2011 before her first death. Chris Sargent runs into Allison and is shocked and dumbfounded to see his formerly deceased daughter alive again. The Nogitsune kills a sheriff's deputy who is secretly a kitsune by stealing his tails, 9 of them, and twisting his neck. This is so the Nogitsune can summon 9 Oni to assist him in getting revenge on the McCall pack. Allison heads to the old Argent armory to gather her daggers, bow, and crossbow to find and hunt Derek. The Nogitsune reintroduces himself to the resurrected Allison and uses her dead mother, Victoria Argent, as an illusion to gain her trust as an ally. Jackson and Lydia arrive at the sheriff's station and discover the dead body of the deputy the Nogitsune killed. Allison attacks Derek and Eli at the high school in the locker room. Eli manages to escape, but Derek is nearly killed until Allison is interrupted by Scott, Malia, Hikari, and Liam, who arrive to save Derek just in the nick of time. Sheriff Stilinski, Parrish, and Mason, along with the other deputies, are ambushed by the Oni in the Beacon Hills Preserve. Scott and Malia bring Derek to his home, where they meet with Melissa, Chris, and Deaton. Peter Hale reveals himself hiding in the shadows and activates his healing with a blowtorch. Scott tells Malia to search for Lydia as she's the key to saving everyone, and he heads to Hale Auto to find Eli and stop Allison. Allison finds Eli at Hale Auto and blows up a car, which scares him, and he retreats into the building. Liam and Hikari meet with Jackson and Lydia at the sheriff's station, and Lydia explains that the wildfires and the Nogitsune's return are connected. Scott saves Eli from Allison right before she's about to deal the killing blow, and Eli discovers that he did inherit the werewolf gene after Scott uses his Alpha Roar to activate his healing abilities. Scott sends Eli to find Derek while he stays behind in the woods to deal with Allison alone. Liam and Hikari leave the station to search for Scott, while Lydia and Jackson stay behind to figure out a way to permanently stop and kill the Nogitsune for good. Melissa, Chris, and Peter head off to search for Allison and Scott after discovering the aftermath of what happened at Hale Auto. Scott and Allison continue their fight in the woods on the outskirts of Beacon Hills. After returning with his father, Eli, Derek, Sheriff Stilinski, and Deaton are all ambushed by the Oni. While searching for Scott, Liam and Hikari are ambushed by another group of Oni in the middle of the road. Hikari and Liam are stabbed and sent to an illusion world generated by the Nogitsune. Derek, Sheriff Stilinski, and Deaton are stabbed by the Oni, sending them to the same illusion world Hikari and Liam were transported to. Malia rescues Eli at the last minute from the same fate. Scott and Allison still fight in the woods, and Scott reveals some of the events of her past to help her remember who she is. Eli sacrifices himself and attempts to hold off the Oni, but gets stabbed. This gives Malia time to escape from the new Hell House, using the sunlight from the rising sun to get rid of the remaining Oni. Scott and Allison's fight concludes on a cliff where he forces her to stab him with the wolfsbane coated dagger. Malia arrives at the sheriff's station to inform Jackson and Lydia of the recent events involving the Oni transporting everyone to the illusion world. Peter, Chris, and Melissa find the remains of Scott's blood on the edge of a cliff where he and Allison were previously. Lydia sends Malia and Parrish off to gather all the silver they can to kill the Oni, while Jackson and she stay behind to investigate the wildfires further. Scott still tries to reason with Allison and is dying from the wolfsbane spreading throughout his body. Lydia and Jackson discover the wildfires occurred because the arsonist was attempting to gather mountain ash. After realizing the Nogitsune was manipulating her, Allison breaks free from its influence. Using a flare, she burns the wolfsbane out of Scott's wound. Jackson and Lydia discover that the arsonist is Adrian Harris, who they thought died during the sacrifices Jennifer Blake committed during the threefold ritual death back in the fall of 2011. Allison, now officially on the side of good again, tells Scott that she barely remembers him and needs to find her father. She believes he's the only person she has left in her life. Eli is sent back into the real world by the Nogitsune, where he lands in the middle of a college stadium during the lacrosse tournament. Scott and Allison begin to rekindle their feelings for one another before she heads off to continue searching for her father, and Scott notices Eli in the middle of the field and goes to help him. Adrian Harris reveals himself to Lydia and Jackson underneath the stadium, where he shoots and critically injures Jackson. Scott and Eli attempt to leave, but they realize they are trapped in the stadium by mountain ash. Derek reveals why Eli was afraid of his werewolf side for so long. He transformed into his full werewolf state, which he unlocked after he evolved into an evolved werewolf back at the end of season 4, after a bunch of coyotes came into their house trying to break in and kill a young Eli. Derek roared so loud that it shook the entire house, which terrified and scarred Eli for years. Adrian reveals that the Nogitsune wants Lydia's pain the most, and he tells her to reveal what happened between Styles and her. Otherwise, he threatened to end Jackson's life by shooting him in the head. Lydia then reveals that she left Styles because of a reoccurring premonition she had where a car crash occurred, sending both her and Styles flying from their vehicle through the windshield. Lydia was left barely alive, while Styles had died immediately on impact and wasn't responsive. She broke up with him to save his life and to keep him from suffering that eventual fate. This is also why she refused to use her Banshee abilities for a long time. Peter attacks Allison and nearly kills her the same way he killed Kate Argent the first time she died. Chris stops Peter after he throws her wolfsbane-coated dagger at him, and Allison reunites with her father for the first time in 15 years. Allison, Scott, and Eli are all transported to the illusion world by the Nogitsune. Adrian forces Lydia to watch helplessly. Scott and Allison take on the Oni together in the illusion world. Malia and Parrish are able to destroy the mountain ash barrier after Parrish burns through it with his hellhound powers. Lydia breaks away from Harris after gaining Jackson's confidence in her abilities to use her powers again. She screams Allison's name, which helps Allison successfully regain all her previous memories right before she's about to be killed again by the Oni. The Nogitsune, while backed into a corner, holds Eli hostage. Allison is left with no choice but to kill Scott by shooting multiple wolfsbane-coated arrows into his chest. This is revealed to be a ploy devised by Scott and Hikari, using her foxfire as a shield to protect himself from any damage sustained by the arrows, burning them away instantaneously. Everyone breaks free from the Nogitsune's grasp, and with the full additional help of Malia, Parrish, Peter, Melissa, and Chris, they successfully kill the Oni and pin down the Nogitsune. Jackson activates his healing abilities and helps Lydia successfully take down Adrian Harris. The Nogitsune then reveals to Scott that he's been hiding something important from them since his return, and that the bite Scott gave him during the events of the season 3 finale, the divine move, turned him into a hybrid, half fox, half wolf. He rips off his bandaged face to reveal a hideous wolf-like disfigured face, leaving everyone in a shocked state of disbelief. This is a huge retcon. In Teen Wolf Season 3B, the Shujendo scroll firmly established that a kitsune, specifically a void kitsune, cannot be a fox and a wolf simultaneously. Styles tells the dark kitsune he can't be a fox and a wolf, specifically himself.
We can change you.
What? You forgot about the scroll?
The Shujendo scroll.
Change the host. You can't be a fox and a wolf.
You know, I always come first from the thought of what makes for a great story. And if it makes for a great story and bends the rules a little bit, I'm okay with it. I'm not a big canon traditionalist. I think you should toss canon out if you want to.
Do you remember, Scott, the gift that you gave me? The bite of the alpha. Power of the werewolf. What? What the fuck?
And I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit.
This was the only reason they could stop the Nogitsune the first time with Scott's alpha bite. Him being a hybrid completely breaks all established canon set up by season 3B's story, as he shouldn't have become one in the first place. Scott, Derek, and Eli rush to the front to lead the charge in the final battle against the new hybridized Nogitsune. The hybrid then uses his power to send each one of them into their own parallel illusions, symbolizing each of the colors of their eyes. Scott's is red, Derek's is blue, and Eli's is gold. The Nogitsune uses his teleportation abilities to constantly move around to each of their illusions faster than they can react, slashing each one of them individually, but Eli takes the most damage out of the three. The three werewolves work together to fight off the Nogitsune and return to the main illusion world on top of that world's Nematon. Eli is thrown off the Nematon and Parrish jumps in to help Scott and Derek hold down the Nogitsune since it's way too powerful for them to hold down together. Derek throws Scott off the Nematon after telling him to watch over and protect Eli as his own. The Nogitsune nearly breaks free after almost fully overpowering a transformed hellhound Parrish. Derek sacrifices himself to hold down and help Parrish kill the Nogitsune once and for all. Using his fire abilities, Parrish burns and blows up the Nogitsune and Derek together, killing them both. Derek ascends to the status of true alpha right before he turns to ash and dies due to the strength of his character and sheer force of will to give his life to save everyone he loves. This is also a huge retcon. Alan Deaton firmly establishes in season 3A that a true alpha is a canine were-animal who is said to become an alpha solely based through the strength of their character, virtue, and sheer willpower, and they are the rarest form of alpha and said to appear once every 100 years or so.
Your eyes were red. Bright red.
How is that possible?
It's rare. It's something that doesn't happen within 100 years, but every once in a while, a beta can become an alpha without having to steal or take that power. They call it a true alpha. It's one who rises purely on the strength of the character, by virtue, by sheer force of will.
Becoming a true alpha breaks this rule entirely, as anyone can become a true alpha now by the strength of their character, virtue, and sheer willpower. Though a theory thrown around the community is that Derek's spark from when he healed Cora back in season 3 reappeared. The true alpha claim has more validity though, since it's an established concept within the verse. The illusion world is destroyed, signaling the Nogitsune's death, and Scott and Allison fully rekindle their relationship, and Allison, with all her memories back, embraces her friends and family, and Scott consoles Eli after the latter witnesses his father's death and mourns his loss. Derek Hale's funeral is held at his home in Beacon Hills. Sheriff Stilinski gives Eli Hale full ownership of Styles' Jeep and passes it on in memory of his father. Eli then takes Styles' Jeep for a ride, reminiscing on the stories about his father that made him a legendary figure in the werewolf community. Scott and Allison move in together in Los Angeles, where she helps Scott and Deaton run the animal shelter until she can get her life fully back on track. Scott and Allison then fully adopt Eli as their son and move him to Los Angeles as well. Adrian Harris is taken into custody by Eichen House under the watch of Dr. Conrad Fenris. And there you have it, the messy, retcon-heavy timeline of Teen Wolf, the movie. Although this movie is bad and genuinely awful at times, it was still fun to revisit our favorite characters and Beacon Hills again, even if Jeff Davis went on a warpath, butchering nearly all of them. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, as it helps this video perform better in the algorithm and reach more people. Comment your thoughts on this video below. I go through all the comments, so any feedback is appreciated. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, consider making today that day. And when you subscribe, don't forget to hit that bell icon and set those notifications to all so that you never miss a future video. And until next time, this is Jades Corner signing off. Peace.